I am very grateful to the Latvian Transatlantic Organization for this opportunity to address the Baltic Sea Region Young Leaders Academy. You, the young leaders, have the greatest stake in the transatlantic security because the choices that are made today will affect your future tomorrow. As you may know, the NATO Secretary General attaches great importance to engaging young leaders. He is having an ongoing conversation with them, which has helped shape his proposals for the future adaptation of NATO that he will put forward to the summit meeting to be held later this year. So my first message to you is to be front and center in building a safer and more secure future for your region and beyond, and to contribute to the ongoing strategic debate. Our world is changing rapidly and perhaps even alarmingly. There are fundamental geopolitical shifts and constant technological advances. There is a widening array of security threats and challenges globally, including terrorism, nuclear proliferation, hostile cyber activity, climate change implications, and pandemics. These are now alongside the more traditional and ongoing threats of military and hybrid activities, and are being exploited by our adversaries. So we are facing a multitude of diverse and enduring threats to our security that come from multiple directions and are simultaneous. This is a pretty complex picture. All NATO allies and our partners are being tested individually and collectively. All these challenges go beyond national borders. They cannot be addressed by any country alone, not even the biggest and most powerful. So my second message to you is that in this complex world, we need strength and unity to address the security challenges we face. As an alliance, NATO brings together almost 1 billion people and 50% of the world's economic and military might. When we speak as one, our voice is stronger. When we act together, our collective resolve and actions are more compelling. NATO also derives significant strength and support from partners that share our values, such as Finland, Sweden, and the European Union. Together, we represent a tremendous force for shaping a stable, transparent, and trusting international environment. Through decades of NATO's existence, despite many challenges, the alliance has remained a cornerstone of stability, peace, and security. Our organization has evolved to meet new challenges and to adapt to an ever-changing security environment. My third message today is that NATO's strength is closely linked to its ability to adapt. And since the security situation continuously evolves, NATO's efforts to adapt also need to remain continuous. NATO has identified a resurgent Russia on the one hand and terrorism on the other as the primary threats that we face. And in order to adapt to the evolving security situation, NATO has taken several steps at its Wales, Warsaw, Brussels, and London summits over the last 7 years. These will be reinforced at the summit that will take place this year. I will focus on the elements of our adaptation that are most relevant to the Baltic Sea region's security. But I would like to stress that all the elements of our strengthened deterrence and defense are applicable 360 degrees and to any adversary. In 2014, as a consequence of Russia's illegal and illegitimate annexation of Crimea and provocative military behavior near our borders, NATO initiated a renewed emphasis on deterrence and collective defense. This came after more than 2 decades, during which the alliance had consistently worked to build a cooperative relationship with Russia. During this time, NATO had calibrated its forces away from territorial defense and focused instead on operations beyond alliance territory. Our planning did not foresee the need to deploy large-scale forces rapidly to defend the alliance. But this had to change after the events of 2014. Unfortunately, today, the Russian government still continues its attempts to establish a sphere of privileged influence, particularly to the east of the alliance. We see this through its military buildup and exercises. We see this in Belarus. We also see it in the protracted conflicts in the territories of countries like Ukraine, Georgia, and Moldova. Russia has also been strengthening its military capabilities, including a growing suite of nuclear-capable missiles. And the rejection of established international norms and Russia's other destabilizing actions go beyond the immediate Euro-Atlantic area. In response to these developments, and in order to reassure those allies who felt directly threatened by Russia, NATO has been taking several measures. We have enhanced air policing in the Baltic region and strengthened our situational awareness. We increased the training activities and exercises in order to enhance Allied forces' ability to operate together and demonstrate commitment. NATO defense plans were reviewed and reinforced, and our command structure was reformed. Allies also reversed the trend of declining defense budgets. 2021 will be the 7th consecutive year of increased defense spending across the alliance, and allies are increasingly investing in high-end defense capabilities. As one of our central pieces of our deterrence and defense posture, at the Warsaw Summit in 2016, allies agreed to establish an enhanced forward presence in Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Poland, and a tailored forward presence in the Black Sea region. NATO's enhanced forward presence comprises 4 multinational battalion-sized battle groups, each composed of approximately 1,200 soldiers. They are provided on a rotational basis. The battle group in Estonia is led by the United Kingdom, in Latvia by Canada, in Lithuania by Germany, and in Poland by the United States. So this is a truly transatlantic effort, and one that is enabled by strong host nation support and investment. In the battle groups, men and women in uniform from over 20 allies serve, train, and exercise together, including with the host nation's forces. This represents a strong expression of alliance unity and solidarity. Adversaries can be in no doubt about the collective commitment, determination, and unity of our alliance to defend our populations and territory. Alongside this strengthening of deterrence and defense, our channels of communication with Russia are open, including in the NATO-Russia Council as well as military-to-military channels. These fora allow us to communicate clearly our positions and reduce the risk of incidents or accidents. We regret that the Russian government has not responded to our offer to hold a NATO-Russia Council meeting for some time now. To prevent any misunderstanding about our activities in the Baltic Sea region, allies also remain open and transparent about their national contributions to forward presence. And this presence is also subject to arms control procedures and confidence-building measures. Russia actively takes verification opportunities that we happily make available. Nonetheless, we have seen disinformation and false narratives intended to erode trust in NATO troops deployed in your region. Notwithstanding these malign attempts, though, NATO troops enjoy a high degree of public support both at home in the troop-contributing countries and in the Baltic states and Poland. The forward presence battle groups alone are not designed to protect against a large-scale attack. However, plans are in place for rapid reinforcement by the high readiness forces of the NATO response force. At the same time, further reinforcement would also be required, and this is the rationale behind the NATO Readiness Initiative, the 430s initiative. Allies have committed to providing land, air, and maritime forces, 30 battalions, 30 air squadrons, and 30 combat vessels, which are ready to fight at short notice, within 30 days or less, and able to deploy swiftly through Europe. NATO has also been increasingly taking a holistic approach across all domains not just land, air, and maritime, but also cyber and space. These last two domains are more and more essential to our ability to communicate and to enable our operations, missions, and other activities. Having summarized the main adaptation efforts that have taken place since 2014, let me say a few words about the next chapter of our adaptation, which is now underway. The multifaceted nature of rising threats, systemic competition, major shifts in the global balance of power, and increasing challenges to the rules-based international order require a multidimensional approach. In this competitive world, the defense of the Euro-Atlantic area is above all the defense of our values and our way of life. This is why, along with its continued military adaptation, the alliance needs to further strengthen its political dimension as well. We will do this by enhancing our political tools, broadening our agenda, and reinforcing NATO as the primary transatlantic platform to discuss and coordinate on all issues that affect our shared security. At the 2019 London Summit, our leaders asked the Secretary General to lead a forward-looking reflection on NATO's future. The resulting NATO 2030 agenda opens a new chapter of the alliance's adaptation. This adaptation includes further boosting each and every ally's resilience. Resilience is firmly anchored in Article 3 of the Washington Treaty, and it is our first line of defense. In addition, NATO military forces are increasingly dependent on civilian services and infrastructure, such as transportation, telecommunications, IT services, energy supply, and even medical support. So these services are key to our deterrence and defense. The emphasis that the alliance has been putting on resilience since 2014 has acquired a new impetus and urgency as our health systems and crisis preparedness have been tested by the COVID-19 pandemic. The approach we take to resilience is to strengthen our civil and military preparedness and responsiveness against all hazards, whether they are triggered by nature or by humans. We expect the upcoming summit to enhance our resilience pledge. Allies also recognize that we must enhance our collective efforts in maintaining our technological edge and foster transatlantic cooperation on emerging and disruptive technologies. NATO's ability to deter and defend relies upon maintaining our technological advantage over our adversaries. NATO foreign ministers recognized this in their discussions in March, which set the scene for the summit. The discussions included the need to understand, adapt, and mitigate the security impact of climate change as well. The Secretary General believes that NATO can contribute in this field and play its part in the efforts to reach the goal of net zero. Ministers also looked at how we could adopt a more global outlook by strengthening cooperation with like-minded partners around the world to protect the rules-based international order and tackle shared challenges. This includes enhancing our ability to deliver training and capacity-building support to our partners. Furthermore, the Secretary General is proposing to update NATO's strategic concept. Doing so will allow allies to jointly agree on a consolidated and common political position on key issues. All these NATO 2030 proposals send a strong message of cohesion, solidarity, and political resolve. Now, in conclusion, let me repeat my core messages, this time in reverse order. NATO needs to continuously adapt to contemporary challenges, use evolving technologies to its advantage, and build its resilience and political agility. No single nation can tackle the multifaceted threats and challenges by themselves. We need to have the highest level of unity and solidarity among allies and build ever closer cooperative relations with our partners. And as young leaders of today and increasingly of tomorrow, you have a central role to play in shaping the strategic debate as well as in fostering the security dialogue in your region. I wish you a successful masterclass.